So I want to take a moment to brag on this amazing woman.
Oh, we're going to come down here. We're going to visit with you guys a little bit.
I fell in love with her so much that I made the biggest sales pitch in my life in front of 250 people when I dropped to my knee and asked her to marry me.
Oh.
Thank goodness she said yes.
I said yes. Yeah, he closed the deal.
But before we met, we had walked very similar paths. What was fascinating is Shannon had been using speaking, and she created Northern California's #1 detox spa. She was doing colonics and raps and really teaching people how to make a difference in their health. And she was doing
known as the Detox Diva.
Detox Diva.
Yes.
And she was doing that primarily through speaking.
Yeah, so I grew that practice very quickly to over 4,000 clients, mostly using speaking. And my friends started asking me, Shannon, how are you building your practice so fast? I said, oh, well, it's no big deal. I just have this little talk, and then I go to like women's groups or the Rotary or Chamber, or maybe I speak at a workshop, and I get a bunch of clients all at once. And they're like, that is a big deal. You need to start teaching that. And this is before Mark and I even knew each other. So that was kind of the beginning of the Speak Your Path to Cash system that we'll share with you here in just a minute. Now, Mark was a badass in corporate branding. So he's written over 1,100 radio commercials. He's done brands with Aflac and Porsche and Harley Davidson, and the list goes on. So his passion, though, is really working with that small business owner, because many of you that are in corporate, it's, he started to feel kind of, I don't know, like a cog in the wheel. Did you feel? So ultimately that passion and purpose we feel can happen even faster when you're working with that small business owner.
Yeah, so for me, what I found is what was attracted to me was these powerful women. I talked about that earlier. I had these powerful women coming to me wanting to articulate their message. And I found so much more fulfillment on working with that small business owner rather than the corporation. I remember sitting in front of Harley Davidson. I was with 6 of their marketing department, and they said, we have a branding problem. And I said, you have one of the greatest brands in history. What you have is a messaging problem. And in the 90s, their motorcycles really started to sell. So these old, Hells Angels guys that owned a Harley Davidson dealership, all of a sudden were making all this money, and we're starting to market wrong messages. So the reason we tell you that is because it hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows. For me, I'm like, okay, I learned how to enroll with heart. I know how to give great service. I know what I want to go out there and do in the world. I know how to market. And I went out there to market my services. And it was hell for me, you guys. How many of you at some point in time have struggled with the words and phrases to position yourself in the marketplace?
Yes.
Okay? So I'm going to give you the epitome of struggle, poster child. Okay? Because over 7 years, I went through 11 different iterations of my brand. And I knew that my brand was the pillar of everything that would matter in my business. So I was trying to find the brand. I could find it for other people like this, but I couldn't see through my own lens. Mm-hmm. So I was struggling. I'd have a good month, and I'd have a bad month, and every time I'd reinvent myself, it was a new website, it was new funnels, new logos. It was just all this work, and I was really burning myself out. And I remember I gained about 40 pounds. I was sabotaging everything going on in my life. And I remember looking in the mirror. And it was one of those moments where you get real with yourself. And I dropped some 4-letter expletives, and I got mad at myself. And I'm like, Mark, what are you doing? You're out of integrity. Here you're teaching this, but you're living this. One of those things is I wasn't doing my spiritual practice of A Course in Miracles. I wasn't doing yoga, and I wasn't speaking, which is how I filled my whole funnel when I was a senior branding strategist. After that day, and I got real with myself, I got myself a spirituality coach. I started doing yoga, and I started working with powerful women in business on helping them articulate their message. And it wasn't long after that Shannon came into my life.
Awesome. We love conscious men, don't we, ladies? Yes, yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so before Mark and I got together, I told you I had this detox spa. So in the first year, it was rocking. $250,000 in the first year alone. We were on track to do 7 figures. And then 2008 happened. How many of you 2008 happened? Yep. Well, I was in a disposable, discretionary income kind of business in 2008 with a big fat mortgage in Northern California, 14 employees, big fat overhead and a lease, and I am like, what the hell am I gonna do? I lost 80% of my business like that. okay? And not more than just the business and the revenue, like I had built up a whole identity. So for some of you, you might be in like a reinvention phase. Like everybody in the Bay Area knew me as the detox diva, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do now? What's next? And I literally was on the phone crying to one of my girlfriends, and she said, well, listen, I'm starting to do these multi-speaker events. And I've been doing personal development for years, walked on fire, did Landmark, right? The whole thing. And I'm like, great. And we learned how to speak together. We were in a speaking course together, doing seminars. I said, well, what do you need? Sales, marketing, logistics, event planning. I'm like, got it, great. And it was really my into seminar land, the business model of speaking. So I started producing these big multi-speaker events with her. Mark Victor Hansen has been on my stage with the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Jack Canfield and Mark have written and sold over 1 billion books. 1 billion books worldwide with the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. Lisa Sasevich, Laurel Langmeyer, all the big name speakers, and the list goes on. And that's really how I learned the ins and the outs of the seminar industry. So for some of you, you might be in a, what am I gonna do now place, and just know that there's angels on your path. Right? Like there's those God whisper moments. You might even be feeling that right now of getting epiphanies throughout the day, of like seeing a new direction you could take something, or, so just know that God is supporting you. We believe that your voice matters and you're here to make a big impact.